Titans Talk continues along here on News Channel 5+. Full bank of phone lines wide open if you want to jump in on this conversation. I know it was a frustrating day yesterday. If you want to vent a little bit about what you saw or how big your concern is now about what's ahead for this Titans team after a 38-13 loss to the Cardinals, now is your chance. 737-7767 is the number. It started badly. It only got worse. Jonathan Hutton of Outkick with our keys to the game now with John Burton on how it all went down.
Time for the keys to the game, and for that we turn to our Titans insider, Jonathan Hutton from Outkick. And Jonathan, if it could go wrong, it did for the Titans in the first half on Sunday. A disastrous start for a team that many expect to be a Super Bowl contender. Well, and they still can be, John, but now they have plenty of questions to answer. In the first half, they couldn't run, they couldn't pass, and other than that, JB, they were perfect in this game. The first 4 possessions, 15 plays, negative 16 yards. And it wasn't a lack of preparation. They were just beat man to man. And this lackluster start in this game, it produced the fewest first half points in 2 years. Derrick Henry had his worst outing in the first half since that Carolina debacle a couple of years ago. Yeah, no question about it. We talked about the Titans offensive stars and their lack of production today, but how much of that goes on the offensive line? They were not good today. No, they weren't, and it starts with Taylor Lewan. He cannot be a weak link, and he absolutely was today. Ryan Tannehill lost more fumbles in this game than he did all of last season. He was under assault. Chandler Jones made easy work of 77, and we don't need to hear how Lewan is rusty coming back from injury. Chandler Jones played in just 5 games last season, 5 sacks today. That speaks for itself. Titans defense was near the bottom of the league in pass efficiency by the opponents, and overall they showed some signs of improvement in the preseason, but today they were not good, especially against Kyler Murray. He was excellent, and 4 touchdown passes, a career best. He sprinted in for another one. He had 6 completions for more than 20 yards, but only one of his passes traveled for more than 20 yards. Great run after the catch for this Cardinals wide receiving core. And those 3rd down attempts, beautiful throws and receptions. At other times, the defense just made it look easy. 5 for 8 on 3rd down passing, and the Titans were really battling with him once he got out in the open on the move, because he's among the fastest guys on the field anyway. And for the former baseball player, he was the ace today at Nissan Stadium. He was. So the Titans 0-1. It's off to Seattle next week. We'll get into that much more with Jonathan Hutton and former Titan Keith Bullock.
Time now to go inside some of the film from this one with Keith Bullock here at the Smart Screen. And Keith, Chandler Jones did not get a new contract from Arizona in the offseason. I would suggest they find a Brinks truck to pay him soon, because he was a one-man wrecking crew today. How did he do it?
Well, yeah, that former SU alum came out hungry, and today he had a day. On this play, it's just being a pro, being a vet. He stayed upfield. He didn't bite on the play fake. He caused the fumble, and the rest is history. Right here, look, it's one man beating the other. You know, this is a matchup you like to see, 2 all-pros. Chandler Jones looks in midseason form, where it seems as if Taylor Lewan is still coming back from those injuries and a slow start in training camp.
The amazing thing there is those were 2 separate plays at the end. They looked like replays, but Jones had 3 sacks in that first quarter, 2 on Lewan that looked very similar. Career day for him, not so much for Julio Jones, who didn't play at all in the preseason and struggled to get going in his Titans debut with just 3 catches.
Yeah, I think we're going to see that a lot from people. But Julio Jones, man, this is a catch that he'll come up with. Typically, all of these catches we'll see he'll typically make, but it's just one of those things. It was just hard for him to get going, the whole Titans offense to get going. Tight coverage on all of them, but Julio makes these plays, and he's been making them his whole career. So I think as the season goes on, we're going to see him make these plays. There's no excuse for missing them today, but it's a great thing. What I loved about playing football, you get to come back next week and have a better opportunity.
And that last ball with Tannehill, maybe one you throw because it is Julio Jones. Absolutely. And you expect him to make that play for you?
Absolutely. We've seen him make all of those catches throughout his career, even you go all the way back to Alabama. I don't think Titans fans need to worry. I just think the Titans players just need to go to work this week.
The Titans expect that to happen quickly with this offense. It's got to happen quickly. It just does. Otherwise, it's going to get ugly this weekend in Seattle. And then they've got some winnable games that they better take advantage of, because the schedule does not get easier down the stretch of the season by any means. Again, not time to panic with this team, but you start 0-1, you definitely don't want to start 0-2. And most importantly, you just can't play the way they played yesterday continually throughout the season. Those corrections have to happen, and they've got to get better quickly. Back to the phones we go. Let's say hello to Gordon. Gordon, good evening. Welcome to Titans Talk.
Hi, Steve. Boy, there's almost nothing to say and a lot to say about yesterday. Because this was just, it was awful. And I do remember, kind of on the back of my mind during the preseason, wondering why they didn't play their starters, at least in one of the games. We didn't really know what we had because we didn't get to see them. And I'm wondering if that's maybe, I understand it was somewhat self-protective. You don't want to have one of your key, one of your starters, a couple of them injured in preseason. But I'm wondering if there wasn't maybe a little bit of arrogance that, hey, you know what, we're so good, we can keep our starters out until the regular season. I don't know that for a fact, but I'm wondering if that was part of the mindset. I think the Titans may have underestimated the Cardinals because they weren't very good last year. They may have come in. It may actually have been a trap game. I don't know. But either we're really bad or they're going to the Super Bowl this year. I'm not sure which yet. But, we play Seattle next week, and Russell Wilson isn't a whole lot easier to contain than Kyler Murray. So the defense is going to have to get it together quickly, and the offensive line, I understand Taylor Lewan coming off of an injury, but he's going to have to get 100% fast because he just looked lost out there yesterday. As every time I'm watching a sack, I'm looking, who missed it? Number 77 again. So, I don't think one game is, a cause for panic. But if we have another showing like this next week, it could be a trend, and I hope I am wrong.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, Gordon, and we appreciate the call. The bottom line is you just have to play better. And Taylor Lewan and the offensive line up front, they certainly know that. The defense knows that. And I think your point about the preseason preparation is valid. Mike Vrabel told us today it wasn't about arrogance. It wasn't about that being the plan to not play anybody at any point or to not practice them very much either. It's just kind of what they had available to them. And it is true that this team dealt with a significant number of injuries in the preseason, or at least things that prevented guys from being available. You had Taylor Lewan coming back from the ACL. You had your center and your right guard, Ben Jones and Nate Davis, who were on the COVID list for roughly 8 or 9 days each. You were trying to work through what was going to happen at right tackle. Ultimately, they settled on David Quessenberry, but Kendall Lamb and Ty Sambrailo might have been the guys that you expected to most compete for that job. And they both missed significant time in the preseason due to injuries. Then you look at the wide receiver position. Julio Jones gets nicked up early in camp, never gets any work because of it. Josh Reynolds was supposed to be your number 3 wide receiver. He's on injured reserve right now, so he's not even a part of what's going on. Marcus Johnson was a terrific performer earlier in camp and in the preseason games. He's on injured reserve right now. I think there was a thought that he was going to be your 4th wide receiver at a time during camp, the way all this shook out. And then you look at Ryan Tannehill. He was on the COVID list for 10 days. And you've got Derrick Henry, sort of the one guy on the offense that didn't have any issues in terms of his preparation and his health, but they just held him at because they know they're going to give him the ball 350 times this year, and they don't want to give him any unnecessary wear and tear. But what that all means together is when they got on the field yesterday, they were not one unit. They were 11 guys getting on the field and sort of playing for the first time. Together anyway. And it did not work out well. Now, all these guys have done it before. The track record for all of them is pretty good. And so you would hope that they can come back and they can fix this in short time and be as good as we thought they were fairly quickly here. But it did not happen yesterday, and it does have to give you some cause for concern because they did act like throughout the preseason that, oh, we're preparing in the only way that we need to prepare right now. Each guy's taking care of their body. They're getting set. So we're all ready to go in week 1, and we can just go at it. And they were all ready to go in week 1 from a physical standpoint of actually being on the field. But they weren't ready in the sense that you have to be full speed and everything's got to be clicking right out of the gate, because this is the NFL and the other team's going to be in that position. And it cost the Titans yesterday. And now the million-dollar question is, can they flip it around in 1 week? Can they be ready to go by Sunday in Seattle? Because if not, 0-1 is going to become 0-2. All right, we got to take another break. 737-7767 is the phone line if you still want to sneak in here in this next segment. We'll also hear from the quarterback, Ryan Tannehill, as well. Stay tuned. You're watching Titans Talk, first edition of the year, here on News Channel 5+.